we have some community leaders that are here with us tonight to help us try to rectify some of these problems and talk about them. We're going to turn to our community partners now. The problem of hate and racism absolutely won't be solved through government alone. Okay, this is something that the community is going to have to take on its shoulders. It's not a new phenomenon. It's not something that just happened on May 31st. This is something that we all have to take ownership of and take and address it head on. So here we have some great partners in our community that are addressing that issue head on. And we're talking about some of our school administrators, teachers, some of the people from our faith communities, and a group in Snohomish that is doing some great things, Snohomish for Equity. So I want to start off with some of our educators and administrators. The Snohomish School District is represented here tonight. Is Kent Kultgen in house? If you can, if you're here, unmute your mic.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, and we have Miriam Miralles Mickelson, who's the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning Services here in Snohomish School District.
I'm here.
And we also have Justin Fox Bailey, Snohomish Education Association, here as well.
Good evening.
Thank all of you guys for being here with us. Want to start off with you, Kent. We want to thank all of you, again, first of all, for all your contributions to the community. But I want to start off with you, Kent, talking about what you see is happening here in our community and what you can do, what you guys can do from our education standpoint.
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for organizing this and Councilperson Redmond for inviting me. I think there's a lot happening in our community and a lot with as going on. I've walked down and at the protests and saw the peaceful protests going on and marching and seeing people standing up for what they believe in. You know, the district's been involved in this for a long time, but since I've been here, and this is my 4th year of really trying to insert the education and build a framework to strengthen our schools. And with that, I'm going to have Dr. Mickelson, Miriam, discuss what we've been doing and where we're at, and also Justin, our SEA's, Snohomish Education Association president, talk about that also to sort of just kick off where we are. So I believe, Justin, are you going to start off first?
Sure, thanks. So thank you so much for having us here. I am the local association president. I'm the president of the Snohomish Education Association, and we represent the certificated educators in Snohomish. It's about 620 folks. I'm involved in the council, the 5,000 educators in Snohomish County, and the WA, the 93,000 educators in the state. I have a couple different hats I wear, but tonight I'm mainly talking about Snohomish. So before we talk about kind of what we're doing, the conversation about how we serve our kids, it all comes back to who are we and how are we serving our children? And so I wanted to do a quick preamble on that. The city of Snohomish is about 10,000 people. The Snohomish School District has about 10,000 students. The district is probably larger than the city. You have about 1,000 employees, both classified, certificated, and administrative, who serve those about 10,000 kids. To know who we are, as a district, about 25% of our students identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, BIPOC. Our students of color are about 1 in 4. In our community, it's about 13%. So our community, the city of Snohomish, is not as diverse as our school district is. And that is an interesting thing to note, that our school district, the students we serve, are twice as diverse as the city, according to census data and OSPI report card. Interestingly, and I'll come back to this a little bit later, our educators, particularly our certificated educators, only 7% are educators of color. And this is something of concern to us and something we're going to talk about as we go forward. But I want to talk about our students, so I'll keep this pretty brief. In Snohomish, the incoming class, we just graduated a class, the incoming class of 2002, 2003, the seniors of next year, which includes my son, have never lived any of their lives in the 20th century. None of them. They were born in 2002, 2003. They are 21st century children. The Snohomish Public Library has always been on Maple and never been on Cedar in their life. There's never been a Snohomish Junior High School. For as long as they can remember, there have been 2 comprehensive high schools, and they've been crosstown rivals. Aim High, the 3rd high school, has always been a Parkway, as far as they remember. There's never been a movie theater on First Street. There's always been a Starbucks on Avenue D. Like Pearl Harbor for their grandparents, like the Kennedy assassination for their parents, 9/11 is an historical event. It happened before their lives. And we have always had armed forces in Afghanistan for their whole life. DVDs have been more common than VHS, but weirdly, these kids buy more vinyl than CDs. That's weird, but that's who they are. Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger have always been grandfathers. The big unit, Edgar Martinez, even Ken Griffey only had 1 year. They've never played for the Mariners. For as long as they can remember, the Sonics have played in Oklahoma. The Sounders have been in Seattle. Aikman, Cal Ripken, Michael Jordan, Monica Seles, Martina Navratilova, they've always been retired their whole lives. It's never been legal to smoke in a restaurant, and marijuana has always been medicine their whole lives. Blackboards have always been whiteboards and mostly been smartboards, and TVs have always been flat their whole lives. Their vocabulary includes the word friend and Google as verbs. Tweet is something that humans do. Wi-Fi is a real noun. YouTuber and streamer are professions they aspire to. And they and them are singular pronouns. And they know somebody who identifies as NB or non-binary. For this senior class, roughly 50% of their generation is composed of people of color. And by the time their children are graduating, that will be true of the country as a whole, not just their generation. Only 2/3 of this generation identify exclusively as heterosexual, which is the lowest that number's ever been. This generation will marry later than their parents. They will divorce less frequently than their parents, and they have the lowest teen pregnancy record in history. The majority of this generation are not just tolerant, but they are supportive of both interracial and same-sex marriage. They see this as normal and right. This is who we're serving. And so knowing who we're serving, what are we doing? So a couple of things I want to talk about that is the union. We have a position on our executive board, which is a director of equity and human rights. And she is on the call with us tonight. The union does a lot of work around, we have a diversity network, which is specifically exists to support educators of color. We also do extensive professional development around culture responsive classroom relationships and providing more diverse experiences for children in the classroom. We have worked with the district around a hiring statement. We strongly understand that in all levels of education, our children are unlikely to see someone who looks like them if they are not white. That is something that we need to work very hard to change. The research is unequivocal that children who see even one person who identifies as them when they are a person of color are more likely to succeed. That is not an issue that is limited to Snohomish, obviously. And so we have tried to work with the district, and everything got COVIDed this year, obviously. But we believe that working with the district around a Grow Your Own program, in which we are encouraging our own children, our own population, to go into education, to become us, is one of the most fruitful ways to move forward with that. I want to speak specifically and go to Miriam here in a second. On January 26th of 2019, we convened a Human Rights and Equity Committee as a joint district. Terry, your brother, was on that committee. We had 112 applicants, which was stunning. From that, we selected 20 people representing educators and community members and administrators, a broad representation, both of white and persons of color. And that group met for almost exactly a year. And on the 24th of January, brought forth a recommendation to the school district. And it looks like this. In Snohomish School District, we seek to create a more connected and inclusively safe culture for all. And we did this for a year. And these are the recommendations we came up with. Number one, student voice. The culture of connectedness and safety we wish to create will center students in conversations about race and culture. As students are experiencing racial injustice, both directly and indirectly, listening to students and empowering students to initiate conversations and action is critical. To this end, number one, we suggested to the school board to survey our students about their current racial experiences. Ask them. This is their life. Ask them what's going on. And two, initiate bystander training in order to educate and empower all students in creating a culture of inclusivity. Number two, family voice. A culture of connectedness, inclusivity, and safety for our students means providing equal access for all families. In order to include families in their children's education experience and help them feel connected to the school community without placing the translation burden on the student, all communication should be in the family's home language. For example, conferences, report cards, emergency information, etc. Initiate a family outreach specialist or a community of network of peers so that families can navigate the school system with the same fluidity of access as all members of the community. And finally, to do 1 and 2, you have to do that with staff. Current school culture among staff and students generally avoids direct conversations about race and racism for fear of missteps or of doing the wrong thing. Therefore, we need an ongoing and targeted program of professional development to support these initiatives. And these were brought to the school district to the school board in January of 2020. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Mickelson. Miriam, do you want to leave this up?
No, I don't think so, Justin. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Miriam Mickelson, Executive Director of Teaching and Learning in the Snohomish School District, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So I just wanted to give you all a brief overview of the work that we are doing as a school district around equity. So in alignment with the recommendation made by the Human Rights and Equity Committee, as alluded to by Justin, the district partnered with Karina Hooks and her associates at Hooks Global. It's a consulting firm that works with schools and districts in the state on equity in education. And so this partnership came about in our efforts to intentionally develop a framework for our district's commitment to equity. So we had plans to formally and intentionally begin our district's equity work in March, and that plan included professional development, starting with the school board, administrators, and our district staff. But unfortunately, that plan was disrupted by COVID-19 and the resulting school closure. We also had plans to adjust our hiring and recruiting process. Justin talked about that a little bit as well, to ensure a deeper and more diverse candidate pool of candidates from which we can hire and fill open positions. So for example, we had planned to travel to states such as New Mexico, where they have a high percentage of graduates or students of color. That plan was also disrupted by the pandemic. So now that the 2019-2020 school year is behind us, we are now restarting this very important work on equity with a renewed sense of purpose. And we have also reconnected with Hooks Global as we move forward. So needless to say, the work on equity is highly complex. It is multi-layered. It has numerous multifaceted components that we have to consider. So the work will be ongoing. It will be systematic. It will be sustained. And we hope to start that work formally this upcoming school year with professional development for our staff in the summer. And we will also couple that with a process for revisiting the Human Rights and Equity Committee's recommendation. So in partnership with Hooks Global, we are confident as a district that we will be able to implement purpose-driven and student-centered work on equity that reflects our district values of diversity and inclusivity and embody our stance against racial injustice. So that's just a very brief overview, general statement of the work that we're doing as a district around equity.
Very good, very good. Kit, do you want to wrap it up and tell us, finish something up? Put a pretty
Sure.
bow on it?
You know, I think they did a great job in representing where we're going, but I want to really put some direct action behind what we're saying. At this point, our first kickoff to restart that program that we had with Karina Hooks and Hooks Global back in February and March is to educate the board, to have a retreat with the board, to have a day-long retreat so we can all start to understand and get the same vocabulary and start to move together as a solid unit as we move our district forward. We planned that retreat, and right now we got dates for either the end of this July or the beginning of this August. So we're getting on this with a restart with a sense of urgency to get our board. And from that, we're going to work in August to get our staff and get the rest of the administrators going. I really liked that Justin shared the screen, or the Human Rights and Equities recommendation. And if you go to the last paragraph of that, and Justin, you don't have to bring it up, but what it was overcoming the issue of our staff not knowing what to do when an incident occurs. And for some of them, doing nothing is the best thing because they don't know how to move forward. And I believe in part of my leadership is to educate our staffs and give them the power and give them the confidence to meet when those situations occur, just those little 1,000 cuts that may happen in the hallway or in the classroom or at lunch, that they can step in, have a teachable moment, and we have to is raise that situation up, but empower our teachers to be leaders within our district for that to happen. And that's going to come through professional development, and that's going to come with time, and that time starting right now. So thank you very much, Terry, for moderating this and for the invite for coming. I'm looking forward to moving forward with our community.
Thank you, Kent, and thank you, Justin and Miriam, for being here with us, taking time out of your schedules to be here. You guys have a very daunting task, it's very needed, what you guys do for our community, for our children. As the great philosopher Whitney Houston once said, I believe the children are the future. And the ways you guys shape them is going to show the way our city and our community grows forward. So thank you guys very much. Next, I'm